Hi.
Thank you for giving up your time today to do this webinar. Just going to do some brief introductions. Hi everyone, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Abigail, Marketing and Partnerships Manager at Salesforce Supermums. And today I'm actually coming to you live from Salesforce Tower itself. Had some exciting meetings here today around our growth and working with Salesforce's marketing teams. That's all very exciting. Getting to have a look around and indeed look at our poster. We're on one of these lovely posters that you can see behind me. We're featured on the new Ohana floor. So unfortunately it was taken before I joined the team, so I'm not on it. But one day. So yeah, that's me. We're joined by Simon today, our Superdad. Hi Simon.
Hi, how you doing?
Good,
Simon. I'm Simon. I'm the Salesforce manager for a charity called Education and Employers, and I've been an admin for about, just under a year now.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, thanks for taking a bit of time to have a chat with us. So we've got various people who may be watching, people who have just maybe signed up to the course and are thinking about taking it themselves, or and people who are thinking about taking it. So we're going to have a chat with you today to find out a little bit about your experience of the course, your experiences getting a job as a Salesforce manager, and what that's like day to day. Because I know a lot of people who want to take the course really want to know where's it going to get them, what kind of job are they going to have, and what kind of flexibility are they going to be able to have. Also, it'd be great to get your top tips as someone who's been through the course and taken the exam of how people can approach that challenge. So yeah, first of all, do you want to start off by just telling us a little bit about your role and what it's like day to day now that you are a Salesforce manager?
Okay, yes, I'm Salesforce manager, as I say, of Education and Employers, and that's a charity that uses Salesforce communities. And what we do is we match together volunteers who are employees with schools who set up opportunities for their kids to find out about the world of work, and it's based upon the idea of young people can get quite fixated in their jobs at an early age, so it's important to open up the opportunities that they can have. I'm a solo admin, and our org has roughly 50,000 volunteers. I think we have around about 10,000 teachers, and we also do a governance program, which again uses our Salesforce community, where we have various boards at all the schools in the UK. They post adverts up for people to come in and be governors. So similar type of program and using the same aspect of the system, and we cover that as well. So yes, quite a large or quite a move to move into that solo admin.
So what does that mean, like, as an admin? Because some people who might be considering doing the course might not know exactly what that job involves. Like, what is a typical day like for you from start to finish, if there is a typical day?
Well, there tend to find that there's similarities. I'm sure lots of people will have this, where there will be various reports that you're asked to do or dashboards that you're asked to set up. So it's all about people come to me asking for bits of information that they want to get out of the system. How many people this, how many people that. Again, it obviously changes on a daily basis. We can give or we can create dashboards for people so that they can have quick access to that type of information. But also they might have kind of unique questions. So you get to understand the system, how it works, and then you can build a report for them there. Or as you try and train them up, because it's very important to try and spread the knowledge around the organization, you try and train them to build some of the reports, and then your job is really to do some of that checking. That's probably part of it. We also have a lot of improvements. People come to you quite regularly saying, can we change this bit please and make it like that, and part of your role is to consider the impact of that overall, because it can be very tempting just to make a quick change and not fully consider how it might impact other parts of the org, how it might impact other users within the organization. And if you've got quite a few users on different teams, so I think I've got 46 users spread across different areas, so you have to think very carefully about any changes that you make. And then on top of that, there's a general maintenance, looking after your org, making sure everything is in good condition, making sure your data is good, and records that are badly filled in or not appropriate don't suddenly slip on there. And that can be quite difficult when you have communities, which is open, so anybody can put data in to create a record. So yes, you have to keep an eye on that type of stuff.
Great, thank you. So, practical point, a lot of people who are thinking about making the switch to a Salesforce career are doing so because they're hoping it's going to offer them a bit of flexibility around things like their hours and where they work and how they work. Has that happened for you? Has that been your experience? And how and where do you work?
It certainly has been my experience. Might be able to see I'm working from home today. So what was important for me was that I'm able to get home early so I can cook dinner for my family. That's something that I like. So I don't mind going in early. So I start early, I get up before 6 and get into London. I live in Hertfordshire, so it's a train journey in. Get into London, start work round about 7:30, and I split 4 days over 5. So I get to finish early to get home on time. And interestingly, the job wasn't advertised as this. So the job was advertised as full-time 5 days, but they were prepared to be flexible for that. And they were prepared to kind of really work with my timings as long as I was able to deliver. You know, that I think they're sensible enough to realize if you deliver, then you should be having some flexibility to do that. And it works well for me. There's always going to be times where you maybe need to work a little bit later or you have to go to various meetings, but they're good at thinking about the time that they can give me, you know, to prepare childcare or things like that. So it works both ways. And to be honest, it makes me more loyal to the organisation. Simple as that. If you look after your staff in that flexible way, then they can do it. Recently on holiday, I went back home for a couple of weeks and I said to them that I'd be happy to work a couple of Monday afternoons. So I was then just sitting literally out in the garden with my computer on Wi-Fi doing the job that I could do. You've got all the different technologies, you can speak to people and do video calls and things like that online. So it was really, really easy for me to continue that work from different country basically.
Nice, perfect. And I know we've had a couple of questions I think I've seen on our Facebook group, actually, people asking about how to approach that conversation. So when they're going for jobs, quite a few people I think have said, oh, my job wasn't advertised as this, but there was that flexibility once I asked. So how did you go about, have you got any tips? How did you go about that conversation with them in the first place? Like, how did you ask and how did you sell it to them as an option?
For me, the job was initially found through Salesforce Supermums. So they, in a way, helped broker and do some of that conversation to make sure that it was open. But it obviously came up in the interview itself about flexible working. So I said to them, I literally just said, this is what I'm looking for. And I made quite clear that I see it as a two-way relationship. The flexible working towards me is beneficial, and that will bring with it the benefits of me, as I've said, being loyal to the organisation, having myself some flexibility when needed. And I think they were, to be honest, just quite mature about it. They, as I say, they understand that you've got to have good, happy staff for them to work well. And I think they also, it's kind of pointing out that the benefits of Salesforce is you can log on and do it in many places. You can provide training in many ways. You can use webinars such as this. You can use paper documentation. You can run through with screenshots of people for people. So we have a few remote workers or regional managers, and if needed, we do training. I simply log on, screen share, and then we can go through the kind of things together on the computer. So it makes you realise that you don't always have to be in the office for that to be the case.
Okay, great. I've got some more questions coming up about your experience of finding a job, because that is what a lot of people doing the course want to know about. Just quickly, I want to mention to people out there, our viewers, you can submit questions yourself. So you should have a little box in order to submit questions. So do that. If you have any questions, pop them in that box for me and I'll try and get them to Simon before the end of the webinar. So just an aside there. Okay, so Simon, back to you and getting your first Salesforce job. How did you find the process? Was it different from any interviews you've done before? What kind of questions were involved in a Salesforce interview? Yeah, what's your experience of it?
Well, I had, this is probably my third job in my life. So my last job I was in for 16 years. So as far as remembering interviews, I don't really remember that long ago. And it was in a completely different field as well. It was in mental health. So this is a complete career change for me. So I thought about how, in a way, how I approach that. Somebody moving into technology at the age of 40, looking for their first job as a Salesforce manager, into what was, for me, felt like quite a challenging job to go into. And I guess I approached it by looking at the other skills which I have. So again, with my old job, mental health, a lot of what I did was about listening to people, about working with them to find out what they really wanted to say and what they were looking for. And that is absolutely transferable into Salesforce, because you do have the technical side, the clicking, and you can obviously develop that as far as you want, but you have to be able to listen and work with people as well. So I was able to show how I would be part of the team, how I would bring people along with the system and make them feel a bit more comfortable about it. So I had the initial part of my interview was a technical challenge. So we were given 2 or 3 different reports to build, and they were checking out whether we knew about things such as cross filters and formulas and things like that. Not difficult ones, and quite often these challenges are set not particularly for you to finish, but just to see where your thinking is. So we did those challenges, and that went really well. Then selected for the second part of the interview, where they were again talking about where I'd gained my knowledge of Salesforce, how I wanted to continue my learning. Because I think you find that within this field is that there is very much a feeling of continual learning. You don't learn it and then you're finished. You continue to learn. I know nothing about Salesforce. It is what you will find even the MVP saying, all the people who've been doing it for years, they will say that they still have so much to learn. But that's a unique way that the kind of Ohana works, is really helping each other. So in a way, back to the interview, I approached it in a way saying, I have some great skills from my previous roles, which I can offer. Plus, I've done my training on the Salesforce Supermums course. And it was actually fed back to us, this is true, it was fed back to us after the interviews that the candidates that came from Salesforce Supermums were by far above the other candidates that they had interviewed, which was really wonderful to hear, because it was scary going into my first interview in a whole new career, completely scary. But it worked. First interview, got the job. So
well done, nice one. Yeah, and we are saying for people out there who are thinking about joining the course, it's actually something we continually we continually get feedback about the course and about the course content, and then about people moving on into getting jobs. So we now do include as part of the course a little bit of employability preparation, so some more detailed webinars about how to prepare for those, things like building up your LinkedIn profile as well, so you can get seen by employers. So we are doing a lot of work around that, because it's kind of within our mission to really want to help you get a role out of it as well. That is the point, everyone needs a job at the end of the day. So yeah, really interesting to hear your transition there, and I think a lot of people are in a similar position to you, is coming to it from that kind of non-tech background. What was the I guess, how did you find out about Supermums, and what was the final thing that helped give you the confidence to just decide, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go for it, considering it was quite a leap for you?
Well, we found out about it. My chief executive a few years ago went and saw Heather do a talk on impact to some charities, and he came back and said, we can get 10 free licenses for Salesforce. So I logged on, had a look at it, hated it, and stopped and left it for a while. And then we started to go and have a little look back at Salesforce and find out what it was. And crucially, we got Economic Change to come in and to talk with us about building a charity org. So we got that package from them, sort of consultation and build. And I was assigned as the internal person in the organization to lead on, the development of what we had, basically because I could switch a computer on, and it's really not much different to that. How these small charities work. You pick somebody who's got a better mobile phone, so they must know about IT. That got me in there, that got me started, and we started working with Heather, and then later with Kate Bow, who for me was fantastic, really getting us to think about what it is we wanted to do, think about the processes that we wanted, and it was rather new thinking for us, because we hadn't really thought in that type of way before, and she's very good at helping us build out the org that we wanted. And as I started learning how it worked, I'm quite inquisitive, and I'm a hands-on learner, so I'm not great at reading from books or things like that. I need to mess around with something and break it a few times. And Kate was really good at kind of showing me what it was she was doing and explaining various things to me. And I just loved it. I just enjoyed it. So I started messing around myself. I signed up for the free developer org and started doing a few things. And then as it went on, Kate suggested, why don't you go for this? I think that you could do it. So I decided to take the plunge, really. It just seemed so good, and the pathway looked good, and the huge gap of Salesforce admins and other staff that's out there, you know, the huge need that is available. It seemed that if I'm going to move into a new career, this is what I can do. And what was always key in my brain is that I can use it to help show impact of charities. Again, it goes back to that original thought of why are you going to be using it. For us, it was to be able to show how we'd spoken to our members, show their views, and be able to be in a meeting and say, I know we're talking about acute care, click, 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 here you go, look at this report, this shows everything that people have said about us. And I really like that idea of strengthening what it is that your members or your volunteers or whoever it is doing, so that you can then get funding, how you can prove all their impact. And yeah, it just got me started. So I decided to take a leap. I spoke to my boss, and he, again at my old organization, and he was very flexible in allowing me to have time to do the webinar while I was working. I didn't need to because it was recorded, so I could always watch it at a later stage, but I wanted to kind of be part of it. And then I did the extra work out of hours, sort of evenings, weekends and things like that, until it finished.
And did you find that manageable? Because another thing potential trainees always want to hear about is, you know, what is the balance? How much time am I going to have to put into it? How did you find fitting that in around like family and then work, and how did you manage it all?
I'd say I did find it manageable. You know, it's going to take up your time, and if you want to get something out of the course, you have to dedicate some time to it. You know, we're all adults, and it's quite clear that you know, you need to participate to be in it. But it was most certainly manageable because I was doing the full-time job, I was doing the training, and I was okay. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't that bad, because I knew I was kind of progressing along. I could see the development. I liked the fact that the coursework could be done within my time. We obviously had a week or two. And again, we were treated like adults. If I hadn't done my homework during the week, well, then I'm the one who will lose at that. But, you know, I can catch up. I found that the tutors were great. We'd be able to converse back and forth with them. And any problems was good. Was easily solvable, really. One other thing we did is, as people on the course, we really got together and helped kind of share ideas with each other, and that's a really good thing to do. So if people are either on the course or looking to participate, do speak to the other people on there. We spent many times on chatter, kind of conversations, really going over various bits of the coursework, showing how we did it, because none of us knew everything at the end of the first week, but there's always somebody that knew something. So yeah, really do participate. It's how much you participate, and you will get some fantastic things out of the course.
Yeah, and just to explain to people who may not know, so when you do sign up, you get access to an online learning community, which we've recently launched a new version of it, which is hosted by a Salesforce product, the Community Cloud product, and that is the place, your kind of one-stop shop that you can go into, where you will be able to use this chatter feature to contact other people like you were talking about within your cohort, which is really nice to get to know other people. I know that when I did it as well, because I have done the course myself, we ended up, a few of us ended up meeting up in London to do a study day, which was really nice to see each other IRL in real life. And yeah, and then all the things like the videos of the webinars are hosted there as well, so you can go back in. If you miss one, you can go back in and watch it. And I actually would watch them quite often, multiple times. So when I was trying to work through something on my dev org, it was really nice to have it on one screen and just do it step by step if it was something quite tricky. So all those learning resources are there. And I want to touch on something you said about how you found out about Supermums, which was through economic change. So for those of you that don't know, economic change is a Salesforce consultancy run founded and run by our founder, Heather, and they specialise in helping charities implement Salesforce. And actually, they are our key partner, providing an important part of the training, which is the work experience element. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, because I think there's two really unique things about our course, because yes, you can do a lot of the learning on Trailhead and all that kind of stuff, but the things that really kind of give you the skills you need, I think, to go out there. It'd be interesting to get your opinion on this, is the work experience. And now we have a mentorship program as well. So I just wanted to touch on the work experience element. So once you've done all your online learning, you then put that into practice on a project, on a real life project. And I just wondered if you could talk us through your experience of that and how you found it.
Yeah, that was, for me, by far my favourite part. I was helping out on an org for a charity called Storybook Dads, which supports families of dads who are in prison. So it helps the dads record DVDs, videos, which are then passed on to the kids, so you can help kind of maintain the family unit really while they're in prison. So that you know, straight away you are doing something within your course that helps another organisation, that makes you feel good. So it's the kind of thing just helps you grab onto it, really. I agree with Trailheads, you've got some great stuff on there and some great learning, but then putting into real life words, real life scenarios, and that is particularly a skill I think that you want to develop as an admin, is changing what you've learned about Salesforce and putting it into that real life scenario. So I worked with Kate again, and she kind of helped challenge me, really. She judged where I was at and kind of adjusted how much I was involved accordingly. So she was involved in some of the spec building of what was needed, and she shared that with me and sort of explained to me why and how it was put together. And then she supported me to build the org for them. So it was me putting in the fields, me putting in the different types, the page layouts, how they were related, all this kind of stuff. And then when there was feedback on where it was, making some of those adjustments to make it usable. And then she was always there as the mentor, and if I had any questions or if I'd done bits that were wrong, you know, she'd be able to point out why it might have been done in a different way. In fact, wrong is probably not the right word, because in Salesforce often you don't particularly do the wrong thing, you just have lots of different ways of doing things. So there's often a lot of talk about best practice, and this is what you focus on. So you can do it in certain ways, but you try and get the best practice for this reason or that reason or whatever. So she helped teach me about those types of things. But having that work experience is, I think it really is key. And I'd say it helped me in the interview, because I was definitely able to reference back to it. When you say to people, you know, yes, I've helped build an org for this charity, that's pretty powerful. You know, you've shown that you've got some real life experience of it. So that was a good aspect of the course. And I'd say my knowledge increased quite significantly during that bit, because yes, I'd learned a lot, but yeah, putting it into real life definitely kind of solidified it, really. And then I found after that, you know, getting my dev org, I was able to probably be a bit better at some of the things I was trying to build. So great part of the course for me.
And I know I did work experience as well as part of the course, and I found it really confidence building as well, to be like, oh, I have learned something, I can do it. And then I was taken by surprise by them saying, okay, so now you're going to train somebody else how to do it. Did you do that within your work experience as well?
We did. Our training was full of laughs. So yes, I trained 2 or 3 of the people, and I was running through how their org went, talking about page layouts, which they laughed at me because apparently I said that page layouts are really exciting, which I can understand is probably a silly thing to say. But yeah, we did. That was done in the room next to my office at my old work. Again, it can be done remotely. We weren't in the same place because they were miles away, so we remotely did the training. They really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. That training was scary because it was my first one about Salesforce, but again, it was quite interesting to see how I was able to actually access stuff that I'd learned when they asked questions. I was worried that they'd ask a question, I'll go, I don't know, haven't got a clue. But it seemed that from maybe it's the length of the course, I found having all that time to do my extra kind of learning really helped embed it in, you know, into my brain, and I was able to answer most of those questions. So yeah, the training side was good. Building is, for me, is always the fun bit. I love building stuff and finding out how I might be able to find solutions. So that's always a fun bit for me.
Yeah, great. I want to move on now to talk a little bit about the community, what they call the Salesforce ecosystem, and this thing called Ohana. So I mentioned that I am at Salesforce Tower today. I was actually on the Ohana floor today, drinking some free coffee and eating snacks, which was lovely, taking advantage while I was here. But there is this idea of Ohana, and for those of you that are new to Salesforce, it's the sense of community that you get once you're in the Salesforce world. And I've got a question here from Jenny, actually, which I think brings us back to this point nicely. And she says, who does Simon reach out to now if he doesn't know how to do something? Do you still use Trailhead? And I think that draws us nicely into the world of Ohana and the Salesforce community and the resources that are out there to help you.
Yes, the Ohana is freaky. It's just amazing, really, and it's kind of a whole new thing that I've never experienced before. But as far as getting support, it's pretty well anyone on Twitter. So, I'm just a simple admin who's been in the job for 9 months, yet I've got many connections who I know I could message right now for help, which are ex-Golden Hoodies, which are the kind of specialist Salesforce recognized people, MVPs, who are those who help a lot within the community. We've got some really great connections that haven't taken much to do. None of them say, well, I don't want to be friends with you. They just connect, they just share. I could post a question on the success community now, and within 20 minutes, somebody would have come back to me with a positive answer. And it's all about sharing the skills you have and helping other people grow. So literally before this, I just finished putting together a video of some optical mark recognition stuff, which I did with my Salesforce org, which I've shared with everybody. So hopefully they can learn from that, and get some support. I think the best example was when I went to the world tour this year. So I've been to 2 world tours. First one was when I was training, and it was fantastic, looked really cool. Learning loads and loads of different stuff. This year when I went, it was even better because I was certified as an admin. I was there as part of the Supermums, so we got some special seats near the front. We got to watch Heather get her golden hoodie. But afterwards, I was kind of hanging around one of the parties to see if I could get some free beer. And I saw a guy called Chris Emmett, who is very popular, very nice guy. And I just wanted to say, hi, I'm Simon, I've seen you on Twitter, I think you do some really good stuff. And he literally frog marched me with other people into the party saying, hi, this is Simon, he's now part of the Ohana and he can't leave. And I spent the rest of that evening with him, with some key members of the London admin group, the people who run it. So Claire, lady called Chrissy Marshall, Andy Corbett, who supports Supermums as well as a mentor, he's brilliant. And that's it. I was there, I was part of it. They were talking about how they could support me. I had people saying, if you need any help, just give us a call. Here's my card, here's my number. And it wasn't about doing it particularly through the paid work way. It was, if you've got a question, just ask. And from that, I then joined the London admin group. When I turned up, first thing that happens, again, it was Chris said, I'm so pleased that you came here. So he remembers me from a few months earlier, introduces me to everybody, and suddenly you're part of the family. So it is quite unique and amazing, but there's so many people out there to support you. Use Twitter for certain. Come to the London admin group or wherever your local admin group is. So Christine Marshall runs one in Bristol. I know that there's various other ones around. And you don't have to be certified to be there. When we went there, there's loads of people who were interested in Salesforce, were trying to do learning from Trailhead and wanting to make those connections. So please don't think you have to wait till you've got a job, you've got certification to be able to go along to them. Just sign up, get your ticket, and then go. So definitely worth it.
Yeah, I went to one of my first ones last month. I went to the Women in Tech one, Women in Tech London one. Yeah, and it's really nice, really friendly. There's usually some free stuff. Yeah, they're a great way to network with people. And again, because this is such an important factor of building a Salesforce career, like building those networks of support and building your contact base, it is actually, again, part of the course where we have some information on like how to build out your Twitter, who to follow on Twitter in the Salesforce ecosystem. Again, we talked about LinkedIn and things like that as well. So you do know who to reach out to and how to reach out to. And then those Trailblazer success communities, which also we let you know a bit more about on the course, you know, where to join them, which ones to join. There are lots out there, and it definitely is one of those things you get out what you put in as well though, so being able to be part of it. And you know, it's one of those things where you'd be surprised how much you know once you get going. You may think, oh, I don't know anything, I need to help, but you'll be surprised once you get in the community how much you can help as well.
It is good. It felt like there was no hierarchy. So just again at World Tour, I was chatting to somebody on one of the community stands, and we were chatting away, and I was asked what he did, and he was an architect, which is kind of the top level really you can get. Not for 1 second did he say, oh, I'm an architect, don't want to speak to you. He was just fantastic, happy to chat, really supportive. So you find that hierarchy, I don't think, is there either. People will chat definitely at all levels.
Have you got architect ambitions? What are you working towards now? We were talking about that constant learning journey that you enter into once you enter into the Salesforce world. Because even if you want to just be an admin, which is great, there are loads of great jobs in that, you still need to keep learning to keep your certifications up to date, for example. So always learning. But have you got anything in mind that you're working towards at the moment?
I'm wanting to do another cert or two. So I'm looking at the platform app builder. And then community, I think it's community consultant or community cloud, I can't remember what it's called. But I'll be looking for that because it's obviously relevant within my field. And I'm still on Trailhead, so I think I'm up to about 115 badges now, and I've tried to switch over a little bit to start doing some of the super badges. For me, again, that's really fascinating. That's probably the closest you can get to real experience without having what I had from the course. And they're really good because it gives you the scenarios so you can start to work out how you might put that into an org. So I want more certs, and I want to see where it goes really. I think, this first time in this first job, I wanted to see if I'd be sacked, and I wasn't, because I'm still there. So it's really
the old imposter syndrome going on.
Absolutely, and I've heard that it continues forever. So you always have the imposter syndrome. But Google, everyone uses Google. You find answers. I did it in my interview for my test. I was unsure about something. I got on Google. I got some advice, and I finished it. Because the actual result you want is to find the solution. It's not particularly about the different ways you go for it. And in this area, again, it's acceptable to ask people for help. You are not going to be more amazing if you can do it all by yourself. You'll actually be more amazing if you can speak and use the hundreds of people around you to get some, fascinating new ideas that you wouldn't have thought about. So it really is set up about working together with other people.
Great, thank you. Well, I've just noticed the time. We do need to wrap it up. You've been a great interviewee. So I guess my last question for you is, do you have any sort of words of advice or words of wisdom, I guess, if people are thinking about taking the course, what would you say to them?
For me, 100%, I would say the course has made a massive change in my life. It's enabled me to change my career. I loved my old job. I loved the people I worked with, but I needed a bit more of a pathway and more opportunity for progression. And this has opened up to me, as I say, at 40 years old, a whole new variety of different options I can go down. I wouldn't have done it without the course, because I would have maybe tried a bit on Trailhead. As you heard, when I first found out about the licenses, I wasn't that bothered because I didn't know where to get started. And the bits I found useful about the course were having people that I could kind of bounce ideas off and discuss and grow with, basically. And then the continuation through into the job. I've always, I'm still very much in touch with Salesforce Supermums, and some of the people I met on the course, we message every so often, because that kind of helps you get into a new career if you're going into it, or just a new line really. So I would say go for it. It was 100% worth it for me. And hopefully it will be for others. All the people on my course, they've continued to progress. So it's not as if I'm one off, I'm just one of many. So it seems to have worked for many of the people that I know that have taken part.
Great, thank you very much for your time today. Just to say to everyone out there who does want to find out some more information, you will be getting an email from me in the next 24 hours following up from this webinar, and it will have the links to the application form. So if you've heard enough, then go ahead, fill the application form, and we'll be in touch. If you've got a few more questions, want to talk through your particular scenario, then you can get in touch with me. There's also a link to book in a call on my Calendly, and then we can set up a call and talk about your individual circumstances. We do have a course starting in September next week, so that one's pretty much full now, but we have another one kicking off in November in the UK, and also our first cohort in a US time zone, which is very exciting, in November as well. So wherever you are in the world, we've got a course for you. And we're also starting our Platform Developer 1 course in October. So once you've done your admin certification, there's a lot of different pathways you can go. Like Simon said, he's going to start looking at Community Cloud, but if the developer side of things is something you really like and really get into, we are offering that course. And yeah, look out for us more in 2020 with more courses coming as well around marketing solutions and consultancy as well. So yes, head to check out that website. Check out the website as well for more case study examples. And we've got two more case study webinars coming up. One on the 19th of September and one on the 27th of September. So please do log back on for those, and we'll see you then. Thank you all, and thank you very much, Simon.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.